Last person I'm going to introduce is somebody I met through my work and has become not only a work colleague but a friend. So I'd like to call on Cathy van Wyk, who came from South Africa to live in Mayo in 2003, I think that's right, to work for Western Care to make her life and work in our very diverse country. So I'd like to give you a big hand. I'm not going to say anything more. She's going to do all of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for this opportunity. And when Margaret asked me, I kind of thought like, Monica, no, I don't know Margaret. But Margaret has a very politically correct manner about her. So she'd say to you, think about it. But what she's really saying, you will do it. I'm honored to be here when I listen to the sacrifices of the women who created an island that I came to. And for a reason that I'll explain to you why I'm here. And that I'm really happy to be here. I grew up in South Africa, and I remember a 4-year-old girl standing somewhere. She didn't realize then what it was and where it was, but she's standing this side of where it was she was, and opposite her stands somebody else who is her grandfather. And she's looking at him, and she's looking at how the wind is playing with his hair, lifting it up and sitting it down. And it's really on a day like today. And it's only years later that she'd realized she was standing at the grave of her mother. She's 4 years and 2 months old. She'd her happiest memories of that time because they lived in an area near a railway line. And every second day the train would go out, and she'd be one of the children running towards the fence and wave at the people. And the next time the train comes in, run towards the fence and wave at the people. And then came the Group Areas Act, and that little girl and her family had to move from where they lived. And her memory becomes very blurred after that. The happiness only ends about there. And another bit of happiness she remembers was when she was with her granny then on a farm. But then she had to go to school, and that happiness ended about there too. You look at that girl standing here today and thinking of a time of apartheid and what it does to you. I came to Ireland because I wanted to see who is the person God wanted me to be when I was born, when I didn't have discrimination around my shoulders. What would it be like to be me? And so important was that to me, that I'm the only one of my family who's out of the country. But it was so important to me to find who would be this person that would emerge when the cloak of apartheid isn't around me. The discrimination is out of me. And I think, I say to you, if there was 3 categories that I'd say to you, stop, start, continue. It would be to continue, ladies and gentlemen, to live a life or to set the example of zero tolerance towards discrimination. Because it's not something that you pick up in a book. It's not something that you're born with. Discrimination is learned behavior from the examples that people live. It's modeled to you. It took me 14 years really to get rid of, I have to be better than somebody else. I am good enough as I am. I remember last year a friend of us, my colleague, died. Patricia Cummins, and it was only actually after her death that I realized that she was the first and the last person to take off the last dregs of what discrimination that was hanging around my shoulders. And she always, and she didn't actually know that she was doing it, and I didn't know until she was dead, because people were talking about her life and how talentful she was. I knew she was doing pictures, she was creating, she was into fine arts, making painting, and that I didn't know that she was talented in knitting and all that. What I remember about her was that I never saw her wearing black. Now I heard that she did on occasion, but very seldom. I always remember seeing her in hues of red or pink or purple or some color. But what I learned after her death was that Patricia saw color in the paintings that she was doing, in the knitting, the yarn that she was working with, she was a heel walker, in the flowers and in the fields. She did not see color on the skin of people. I stayed over in her house one evening. She always would have suggested to us we could stay over when we had our Christmas dinner, and I have to travel up to Ballina, and she always would have said, well, I have a room, you can stay over. And one evening I thought, well, I'll take her up on our word, because she keeps asking us every year. And so that evening, Patricia left she said to me where the key was, and she said, she didn't say what else now, she just said the room is there. So I went into her house, never been there, and she had left the light on for me in the hallways, because I've never been in her house. She was that considerate. She left the light on in the bedroom that I was meant to use. And then when I stepped in and locked the door, and I thought I'd be as quiet as I can because I came in later than her. The next thing I looked, and there was a long white nightgown. That wasn't there a minute ago when I turned the key. But she got up to make sure that I was okay. Now she frightened me, of course. But that's how, and I had the best bed linen that she would have probably shared with her own family. And there I was, I still remember the Anglaise part that ran across this white duvet cover. But Patricia was treating me in the very same way that she was treating her brother, her sisters, her close friends. Patricia offered me her house or the family home in Louisburg to stay over when we were walking down that direction. There was no such a thing as you have to do this, Cathy, or you can't do that, and you can't sleep there, and there was nothing like that. She offered the house same way she would have offered the herd afterwards to her friends. There was no strings attached. In her memory, that was actually the time I realized last year that was the end of the apartheid for me and discrimination. So I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, these women before us that we're celebrating today have created this island that I came to and got healed. And as I say, discrimination is something that you learn from people living it. So I'm part of the people who now try to set that example. And I know that I'm here for a reason, because at home, the people I was part of a family, of a white family, and their children looked for me for a long time and found me a couple of weeks ago. And I now know that was the reason that I'm here, because when I go home, we'll have these discussions about how they treated me, and there was no reason for it. And I'm sure now that they've turned the corner as well, we'd have discussions about apologies and let's move on. With my years here in Ireland, I've learned now that I am a cub of a lion. That never ever anywhere in the world will I allow anybody to treat me in a disrespectful manner. I leave you with a blessing from our hymn book in Afrikaans, but I'll translate for you as I go along. It says, God bly met u waar u ook mag gaan. God be with you wherever you may go. Mag sy raad u lei en heilig. May his counsel guide you and keep you holy. En is u altyd deur beveilig and always protect you. God be with you wherever you may go. God be with you wherever you may go. God bly met u waar u ook al gaan. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.